For 17 years, I protected my daughter from quiet cruelty masked as tradition, until a wedding invite changed everything, and one update to my will silenced my family forever. I didn't yell. I didn't call. I didn't even send a passive-aggressive emoji. I just clicked, not attending on the RSVP, and closed the laptop. But when Christmas rolled around, I made one quiet change that detonated everything. My phone didn't stop buzzing for days. My name's Diane, and I used to be the oldest of 3 sisters, used to mean something. I was the reliable one, the emotional janitor of our chaotic family. Babysitter by default, Thanksgiving dinner coordinator, emergency contact when our mom couldn't deal. Hannah, the middle sister, loved the spotlight like it was air. Paige, the youngest, was coddled like she was made of glass. And me? I was the one who kept the whole, messy machine running while nobody said thanks. Then I became a mom. Not the way people expect. I adopted Ivy when she was 3, a girl with eyes too big for her tiny face and a silence that felt heavier than most grown-ups' words. Ivy watched everything. I think she was trying to figure out if I'd be one more letdown. The first time she called me Mom, I sat in my car afterwards and sobbed into my steering wheel. That was the day I swore I'd never let her feel like she didn't belong. But I couldn't keep that promise. Not even close. Last March, Hannah got engaged. Enormous diamond. Even bigger Instagram announcement. Ivy, excited beyond belief, made her a wedding card, sparkly cardstock, cartoon wedding bells, way too much glue. She left it on Hannah's passenger seat with a huge smile. A week later, I found it crumpled beneath an old Chick-fil-A bag and a cracked water bottle. Still, Ivy was all in. She asked if she should wear her hair up or down. She practiced smiling without showing braces. She wondered out loud if Hannah would let her help pass out programs. I think some part of her still hoped, just this once, she might be treated like family. And then the wedding invite arrived. It was one of those fancy thick ones with gold foil edges and a wax seal like we were auditioning for The Crown. I was reading it while Ivy worked on math homework beside me. Dress code. Formal. Venue. Mountain Vineyard. RSVP link. And there it was. Adults only. 18 plus strictly enforced. No exceptions. I reread it 3 times. Ivy looked up before I could fake a smile. She doesn't want me there, she said flatly. I tried to soften it. It's just an age policy, honey. Ivy didn't blink. Is it because I'm adopted? I don't remember what I said after that. I just remember my voice cracking, and Ivy going back to her homework like she hadn't just gutted me. This wasn't new. My mom once introduced Ivy as Diane's girl, never her granddaughter. Hannah always said, your daughter, like Ivy was a dog I was dog-sitting for a few years. At family dinners, Ivy offered to help and was treated like furniture. This wedding made it unmistakable. They didn't see her as one of us. So I didn't rage. I didn't plead. I just clicked no on the RSVP. No explanation. No drama. Just digital silence. Hannah texted the next morning. Hey, just saw your RSVP. Is everything okay? Then, as if that fixed it, if this is about the age thing, I hope you understand, we're being consistent. Nothing personal. Consistent. That's what she said. Like Ivy was a policy violation instead of a person. Ivy, who was 17, not 7. Then Paige messaged. Then my mom called. Diane, she said, all strained sympathy. It's one night. Don't punish your sister. I told her I wasn't going without Ivy. What happened next shocked everyone and changed our family forever. By Christmas, not one of them had mentioned the wedding, the RSVP, or Ivy. So I made a single change. I didn't invite them. No announcement. No confrontation. Just silence. And that's when they lost their minds. I didn't clean the house. Didn't buy extra folding chairs. Didn't pull the turkey roaster out from the basement or text the group chat about pie preferences. I just didn't. And the silence? It was deafening. For over a decade, Christmas Eve had been my thing. I hosted. I cooked. I played referee. I made sure everyone had their favorite dessert and the wine didn't run out. I did it all because I thought, deep down, that if I kept showing up, kept giving and smiling and smoothing everything over, they'd eventually see Ivy. Really see her. And maybe, just maybe, they'd start treating her like more than just my side project. They never did. Mid-December, like clockwork, Paige texted. Diane, are we still doing Christmas Eve dinner at your place? Let me know what to bring. Then Hannah chimed in. We'll be 5 again this year. Let me know if Ivy wants anything special, if she's even coming this time. That last part? Like Ivy had flaked. Like the problem wasn't their exclusion, It was her. I didn't respond. For the first time in 15 years, I let the holiday come and go without performing for them. No group text. No tree photo. Nothing. And then the call started. First my mom. Then Paige. Then, surprisingly, my dad, who's usually so nonchalant it takes an earthquake to get him to call. I let them all go to voicemail. My dad's message sounded like he was reading from a script he didn't quite believe. Diane, your mother's upset. We're all confused. It's not too late to do the right thing. The right thing? As in, pretend everything was fine? Let people who made my daughter feel invisible come eat cranberry sauce under my roof like they hadn't done anything wrong? No. Just, no. So we did Christmas our way. Elliot made lasagna in his pajamas. Ivy baked cookies shaped like deer that looked more like goats and stars that looked like anxious jellyfish. We opened presents early, watched Elf, and laughed until I cried. No tense glances when Ivy entered the room. No fake smiles. No pretending. And that's when the guilt bombs dropped. Hannah texted. I just think it's sad. We've all tried to make Ivy feel welcome. You're the one making it impossible to connect with her. Paige wrote. If you cut people off over one disagreement, you'll end up with no one. Then came the photo. My mom sent it like a Christmas card, a glowing tree, glittering ornaments, and this caption. It wasn't the same without you. Ivy would have loved her gifts. Gifts for a child they uninvited. Guilt disguised in tinsel. I didn't reply. Because they weren't gifts. They were bait. Wrapped in ribbons, stuffed with manipulation. A few days later, a card came in the mail. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. My mom's. Inside was a single line that stayed lodged in my brain like a splinter. I wish you'd think about the example you're setting. Ivy will see how easily you shut people out. That was the moment I stopped feeling guilty. Because yes, that is the example I want to set. Not that love is disposable, but that real love doesn't ask you to shrink to fit someone else's idea of acceptable. It doesn't ask you to sit quietly while your child is erased. And it certainly doesn't require hosting people who call you cruel for protecting your daughter. One night, Ivy curled up on the couch, sketchbook in her lap, a blanket wrapped around her legs like armor. She looked up at me, steady and serious, and asked, if I wasn't adopted, do you think they'd like me more? I felt the breath leave my body. I sat beside her and said the only thing I could. Sweetheart, they'd probably pretend better. But the way they treat people who are different, that's always been about them, not you. She didn't flinch, just nodded slowly. I don't think I want them to like me anymore. And that was the moment I stopped waiting. For apologies. For redemption. For some grand gesture to make it all okay. Because the truth is, they were never going to change. And for once in my life, I didn't need them to. But that's not all. 3 weeks later, the doorbell rang. I thought it was over. I thought the silence, the kind you cultivate, not the kind you suffer, would finally earn me peace. That they'd retreat to their group chats and passive-aggressive birthday texts and eventually fade away. But people like my mother, like Hannah, like Paige, they don't let go quietly. Not when the story makes them look like the villains. It was a Thursday. Gray sky. Wind that made the trees hiss. I'd just gotten home from work, coat still on. Ivy was upstairs, elbows deep in charcoal sketches for her art portfolio. Elliot was finishing a late shift at the clinic. Then came the knock. I opened the door, and there they were. My parents. Standing on my porch like it was 2008, and they hadn't just emotionally nuked their relationship with me and my daughter. My mom held a container of cookies like it was a peace treaty. Oatmeal raisin. Burned on the edges, soft in the middle. My childhood favorite. Diane, my mother said, voice trembling, we thought we'd stop by. I didn't say anything. I just stared at the container like it might explode. My dad shifted awkwardly. Can we come in? Just for a minute. No, I said flatly. There was a pause, one of those heavy, brittle silences. We just want to talk, my mom offered. Things got heated, but we're still your family. She lifted the cookies again, like they'd changed my mind. I didn't take them. That's when her smile cracked. You don't have to be like this, she said, her voice sharpening. We know it's been hard, raising a teenager. And pushing everyone else away, my dad added quickly, like they'd rehearsed it. But this, my mom continued, you're going to lose your real family over a girl who's leaving in a few months. My stomach twisted. She's 17, my mom said, soft now, almost pleading. She'll go off to college soon. And then what? You'll be alone. You'll regret this. Then she said it. The thing I think she'd believed all along. I'm sorry, Diane, but she's not blood. She's not really one of us. She said it like a kindness, like she expected me to nod, to thank her for being honest. Instead, I stepped back and said, "You need to leave. Right now." My dad looked stunned. "Diane." "No," I said louder. "You don't get to come here with cookies and pity and call it love. You don't get to insult my daughter and then act confused when I don't invite you in. You're going to regret this," my mother whispered, her voice cracking. "When she leaves you, when she forgets you, you'll come back. You'll see we were right." I didn't answer. I didn't have to. I closed the door, locked it, and leaned against it until their footsteps faded. The next day, I told Ivy. I hadn't planned to, but we've never lied to each other, not about the big things. She sat very still as I told her about college, about not being blood, about the real family I'd supposedly lost. She didn't cry, but I saw the way her hands clenched in her lap. "They really think I'll leave you?" she asked quietly. "No," I said. "They hope you will. That way I'll need them again." She nodded, slow, calm, like something inside her had just settled into place. "They don't get to hope things about me," she said. And that's when I realized it wasn't over. Not even close. Because 1 week later, they did something worse. It started with a forwarded email from my cousin Olivia, who's always had one eye on the drama and one foot on whoever's winning. The subject line, "Figured you should see this." Attached was an email from Paige, a masterpiece of backhanded sentimentality and weaponized pity, sent to the entire extended family. "This is hard for me to write." It began, the classic opening line of a professional martyr. And then she unloaded. She called Ivy manipulative, accused her of driving a wedge between me and the rest of the family, said I'd abandoned my real family for a girl who never truly belonged. She ended with, "I just hope Diane finds her way back before it's too late." And people believed it. That week, my inbox turned into a war zone. "Aunt Deborah, your sister said you're isolating. Are you okay?" "Uncle Ted," voicemail on Elliot's phone. "Is Diane having a breakdown?" Even Chloe, who once wet the bed at my wedding, commented on one of Ivy's art posts. "You're lucky. Don't forget who gave you a home." Ivy saw it. She read it quietly, blinked twice, then scrolled past. That was it. Like her heart had developed calluses. And that's when I knew this wasn't about them anymore. This was about the story they were trying to write. A version where they were the wounded heroes and Ivy was some outsider who'd turned me into a monster. So I did something I should have done years ago. I wrote my version. Not a rant. Not a 2 a.m. Facebook post. A dossier. Screenshots. Voicemails. Group chat messages. Every ignored invitation. Every thinly veiled insult. Every moment of exclusion I'd filed away like receipts in a drawer labeled just in case. I wrote a letter. No rage. No venom. Just facts. Then I sent it to every person who'd ever called me too sensitive. Every cousin who'd forwarded Paige's email. Every relative who thought keeping the peace mattered more than protecting a child from being erased. Subject line, "For those who want the full story." And that's when things really got quiet. After I hit send, I waited. Not for an apology, I knew better than that, but for the fallout. The family had always operated like a small-town PR firm. Keep it quiet. Smile for photos. Protect the brand. But I had just dropped a truth grenade in the middle of their curated narrative. Some people replied. A few quietly unfriended Paige. One cousin, James, of all people, wrote back a single sentence. "I'm sorry it took me this long to see it." Others? Nothing. Total silence. Which told me everything I needed to know. I wasn't doing it for them anyway. I was doing it for Ivy. So she'd never wonder if she imagined it. So she'd never again ask if being adopted meant being optional. After that, I started blocking people. Anyone who said, "Maybe if you just talked it out." Anyone who said, "Family is complicated." Anyone who thought peace was more important than a child's right to feel safe in her own damn family. They stopped contacting us, at least directly. But I knew they still talked. Knew I was the story they told at wine nights and backyard BBQs. The dramatic one. The angry one. The daughter who ruined Christmas because of a girl who wasn't even hers. Let them. Ivy's a senior now. Her art portfolio looks like something pulled from the soul of someone twice her age. Honest, sharp, brutal in the most beautiful ways. She still curls up on the couch with a blanket and sketchbook. Still makes tea for Elliot without being asked. Still kisses my cheek every night before bed. And then one afternoon, while filling out a college application, she asked, "For emergency contact, should I list you and Elliot, or just you?" I smiled. Whatever feels right. She looked down at the form, thought for a moment, and checked a box. Just you. Then she said it again. Soft. Like a secret vow. I'm not going anywhere. And I believed her. They never apologized. Not really. But they did show up. It was early spring. Ivy had just received her first college acceptance, a full scholarship to a top-tier art program. She screamed. I cried. Elliot popped open a bottle of sparkling cider like it was Dom Perignon. 3 days later, the wedding photos surfaced online. Hannah, glowing in white. Paige beside her. My parents flanking both of them. Smiles. Champagne toasts. First dance. And in the center of the reception, on a gilded table surrounded by twinkling fairy lights, a framed collage of all the nieces and nephews. Every single one. Except Ivy. Like she didn't exist. I didn't cry. Didn't rage. Just closed the browser tab. Then I opened a folder I hadn't touched in 5 years. It was labeled simply, Will. Because when Ivy was 10, when she still asked me, sometimes in a whisper, if someone might come take her back, I promised she'd never have to wonder where she stood in my life. That night, I updated everything. House, car, retirement account, the emergency fund Elliot and I had built over a decade. It was all already hers in spirit, but now it was legal, binding, unshakable. Then I wrote one final letter. To my parents. To Paige. To Hannah. No fury. No insults. Just clarity. I told them what they would not be inheriting. I told them they weren't entitled to proximity after years of absence. I told them that legacy isn't built on blood. It's built on showing up. On choosing someone, again and again, especially when it's hard. Especially when it costs you. And I told them that the legacy I was building didn't include people who treated my daughter like an afterthought. I mailed the letter certified. Signature required. 3 days later, my phone rang. Blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. My mother's voice trembled as she spoke. Diane, we didn't mean for things to end this way. We were just trying to do what was right. I don't know when you changed. I don't know when you started seeing us as the enemy. But we're still your family. She paused. Then, barely audible. Even if she's not. That was the last time I heard her voice. Flashback. When I was 16, I spent a summer working the front desk at a daycare center. One afternoon, a little boy named Cameron came in with a bruise the size of an apple on his shoulder. The other staff said it was probably a playground fall, but something about the way he flinched when his dad picked him up sat wrong with me. I reported it. The director pulled me aside the next day and said, "Are you sure you want to go through with this? That's a serious accusation." And I remember standing there, barely old enough to drive, saying, "I'm not accusing. I'm protecting." They opened a case. His dad never came back. That moment never left me, because it taught me something they never wanted me to learn. Love isn't loyalty. Love is action. And sometimes, loving someone means refusing to let them be hurt, even if it costs you everything. Ivy graduated in June. She wore a navy gown and a gold tassel, but what made me cry wasn't the regalia. It was the hand-painted stole she draped over her shoulders. It had soft watercolor clouds, 2 hands reaching for each other, and right in the middle, a single sunflower. I took photos until my phone overheated. Elliot whistled and clapped like a kid at a concert. Ivy walked across that stage, diploma in hand, and into our arms without glancing once toward the crowd. Because she didn't need to. A week later, she packed for college. 3 suitcases, 2 sketchbooks, and a shoebox of letters. Birthday notes I'd written her since the day she called me Mom. She didn't cry. Neither did I. We didn't need to. Our bond wasn't brittle. It was steel forged in fire. Right before she stepped into her dorm, she turned to me. "I know they still talk about us." "They might," I said. "But they don't know anything real." She smiled. "That's what I figured." Then she pulled me into a hug so tight, I felt it in my bones. "I'm not their almost niece," she whispered. "I'm your forever daughter." And then she was gone. But not lost. Never lost. Now the house is quieter. The hallway echoes more than it used to. Elliot catches me staring sometimes, at the corner where her sneakers used to pile up, or the kitchen drawer still full of mismatched lids and her favorite tea bags. But I don't feel empty. I feel chosen. Because I chose her. And I'd choose her again, even if it meant losing everyone else. If they're still out there, waiting for me to come back, to crack, to regret, I hope they wait a long, long time. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Just keep the door shut. Let them live with the echo.